Hello. In this lesson, I'm going to provide a broad overview on how to prepare divorce financial disclosures. To prepare financial disclosures, both parties must complete the following documents in an uncontested divorce: income and expense declaration, schedule of assets and debts, declaration of disclosure, declaration regarding service of declaration of disclosure, and income and expense declaration. In a default divorce, the petitioner is going to complete the income and expense declaration, declaration of disclosure, declaration regarding service of declaration of disclosure and income and expense, and the petitioner's community and quasi-community property declaration. And this must also be completed to identify separate property. Financial disclosures must be completed regardless if there are any disputes regarding marital property and debts. Preliminary disclosures include the parties identifying marital and separate property assets and debts. Final disclosures include the values of all property and debts of each party. Both steps can be combined by including the values of assets and debts and providing supporting documentation in the preliminary disclosure step. I highly encourage you to do that as part of the preliminary disclosure step to save yourself time. If both parties are satisfied with the preliminary disclosure, they can agree to waive final financial disclosures. Note: the petitioner can waive final disclosures in a default divorce, but must still complete a preliminary disclosure. For best practice, the petitioner should go ahead and combine preliminary and final disclosures in a default divorce and list the values of assets and debts and provide supporting documentation. Form FL-150 provides a general overview to the opposing party as to your most recent earnings and expenses. Both parties are required to serve this form on one another, and they must include a recent paycheck stub. Because this form must be filed with the court, make sure you block out any sensitive information on this form, such as your Social Security number, date of birth, etc. FL-142 identifies separate property and community property. List none when you do not have an asset or debt for a particular category. You must attach supporting documents and serve them on the opposing party to make the disclosure final. Do not file this form with the court. I repeat, do not file this form with the court. This form will not be completed in a default divorce because instead the petitioner will complete FL-160 instead. FL-160 informs the court as to the assets and debts in which the party holds. Make sure you include all required documents when serving this form on the respondent. Again, because FL-160 must be filed with the court, block out any sensitive information on this form, such as bank account numbers and your date of birth. FL-140 must be completed after you have served FL-142 and FL-150 on the opposing party. So again, both the petitioner and respondent must complete these forms. Check the correct box on these forms to indicate that disclosures you have provided is completed. Make sure you include your tax returns and all supporting documents when serving your preliminary disclosures on the opposing party. FL-141 informs the court that you have completed your preliminary or final financial disclosures. Identify the party served and the method of service used on this form. This document must be filed with the court. Financial disclosures that I just went over in this lesson may be served by mail. You do not have to serve them using personal service. If you have any questions regarding the preparation of financial disclosures, contact us at info@scsquire.com or send us a message in your customer account. Please proceed to the next lesson.